Ever find yourself kind of stuck between getting advice from like a real person and,
Oh, yeah.
an algorithm?
Oh, yeah. Or
Like trying to figure out how much to rent your apartment for.
that's a perfect
You ask
example.
a friend what they think, but then you also check out what like one of those AI-powered sites says, Zillow or something.
Right, right.
What happens if they give you totally different advice? Who do you trust more?
That's a fascinating question, and it's becoming more and more relevant as, algorithms are getting involved in like every part of our lives, it seems.
Yeah, it's like there's a weird kind of tug of war between what your gut tells you and what these smart systems are saying.
Yeah, totally.
So today we're doing a deep dive into a study from the Journal of the Association for Information Systems.
Okay.
It looks at this exact tension, how people make decisions when they're getting advice from both humans and algorithms at the same time.
And I think they actually use rental prices as an example in the study.
Really, just like we were talking about.
Yep.
Before we get into what the study found, though, I think it's worth saying that, algorithms are everywhere these days.
Oh, absolutely. Everywhere you look.
It's not even just suggesting like what to buy or what to watch anymore.
Right.
Some of these algorithms are potentially influencing major decisions like medical diagnoses and things.
Yeah, it can be kind of scary to think about.
It is, but what I find interesting about this study is that it's focusing on those situations where humans are still a part of making the decision.
Yeah,
It's not like we're just blindly following what the AI says.
right. It's more about that interaction between the human and the algorithm.
So it's not even just about whether we trust algorithms or not.
Yeah,
It's about how we weigh their advice against human advice when we have both.
exactly.
Like, imagine you're a content moderator on social media.
Okay, yeah,
You might get a flag from an AI that says, hey, this post might be problematic. But you also see feedback from other users who are saying it's fine.
right. So then you have to decide what to do.
Exactly. It's not a simple either-or decision.
No, not at all.
Now, the researchers in this study were really interested in this debate about algorithm aversion versus algorithm appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of research on this trying to figure out if people just naturally distrust algorithms or if they lean on them too much.
Right. Are we too quick to trust them or are we too skeptical?
And what did they find? Did this study take a side?
Well, it kind of seems like people might actually appreciate algorithms more than we realize.
Really?
Yeah, even when there's also human advice available,
Uh,
they found that, at least for the types of tasks they were looking at, people found the AI advice to be more persuasive.
so maybe we're more likely to think, oh, the algorithm must know best, at least in certain situations.
It seems that way, yeah, which is pretty interesting in itself.
It is, but things get even more complex when we have to think about both human and AI advice at the same time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because then it's not just about trusting one over the other anymore.
Right. It's about figuring out how to combine the two.
So how did the researchers actually test this out?
Well, they had this really clever study design.
Okay.
They asked people to guess rental prices for different apartments, kind of like our example earlier.
Okay.
But they added a few twists. Some people only got advice from a so-called human expert.
Uh,
Others only got advice from an AI algorithm.
okay.
And then the last group got advice from both.
So it's like a real head-to-head matchup.
Exactly. And after seeing the advice, everyone got the chance to change their initial guess.
Okay.
This allowed the researchers to see how much each type of advice actually influenced people's final decisions.
All right, so what did they find? Spill the beans.
One of the biggest things they found was that when the AI and the human gave different advice,
Yeah.
people were actually less likely to change their initial guess.
Wait, so even if both the AI and a human expert are saying something different from what I initially thought,
Uh-huh.
I'm more likely to just stick to my guns. Why would that be?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It seems like when we're faced with that uncertainty of getting conflicting advice,
Yeah.
we tend to just cling to our own judgment, even if it might be wrong.
So it's almost like we're saying, well, I don't know who to believe, so I'm just going to trust myself.
Yeah,
Even if we're not experts in rental prices or whatever the task is.
right. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that's what their findings suggest. We might be overvaluing our own judgments in those uncertain situations.
That is fascinating. But what about when the advice is aligned? What happens then?
That's where things get interesting. When the AI and the human advisor both gave the same advice, people were way more likely to change their initial guess, and they even said they felt more confident in their final decision.
It's like that extra confirmation from someone else made them feel more sure of themselves.
Exactly. But here's the thing that really got me. This effect was even stronger when it was the AI agreeing with the human.
Whoa, hold on. So you're saying that the AI's agreement holds more weight?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
So let me get this straight. If I think the rent should be $1,500 and my friend agrees, but some algorithm suggests $1,800, I'm actually more likely to go with the $1,800 just because the AI said so, even though a real person agreed with me?
That's what the study's suggesting, yeah. It's a little unsettling when you really think about it.
It is unsettling. I mean, algorithms are powerful tools, but they're not perfect.
Right, they could be wrong just like humans.
Exactly. So why would we be so quick to trust them over our own judgment and the judgment of someone we know and trust?
Well, that's a really good question. And it might be because algorithms can actually help us overcome biases we might not even realize we have.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like maybe we're subconsciously undervaluing our apartment, or maybe we're just not that good at estimating rental prices.
Right.
The AI kind of comes in as this neutral third party and says, hey, let's look at the actual data here.
I see what you mean. So it's almost like the AI is forcing us to be more objective.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to recap, we tend to trust algorithms more than we realize, even when we also have human input.
Right.
We also saw that when we're unsure about who to trust, we tend to stick with what we initially thought. But when we get confirmation, especially from an AI, we're more likely to change our minds.
It seems that way.
And the craziest thing is, we might even be more likely to go with what the AI says, even if it goes against both our own judgment and a friend's opinion.
Yep, you got it.
Now, this study only looked at rental prices, which is a fairly normal decision.
Right, everyday stuff.
But these findings seem like they could have bigger implications, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing this whole trend of human algorithm collaboration popping up everywhere. Healthcare, finance, even criminal justice.
And as AI gets more sophisticated, it feels like these types of situations are only going to get more common and more complex.
Exactly. So understanding how we respond to advice from both humans and algorithms is going to be so important going forward.
So what can we even do about it? How do we stop ourselves from becoming too reliant on algorithms, especially when the stakes are so much higher than just figuring out rent?
Well, I think it all comes back to being aware and informed, remembering that algorithms are just tools.
Right.
They can be incredibly helpful.
Definitely.
But they shouldn't be making our decisions for us, you know?
Right. So don't just blindly believe what the AI tells you.
Exactly. Do your own research, consider different perspectives.
And don't be afraid to question the algorithm's output.
Yeah. Ask yourself things like, what data was used to train this algorithm? Or could there be any biases built into the system?
Right. Just because an algorithm gives you an answer doesn't mean it's the right answer for you or your situation.
And I think it's crucial to think about the context. Are we dealing with something where human experience and intuition are really important? Or is it a task where an algorithm might actually be better at it?
It's all about finding that balance between trusting the AI and trusting yourself.
I think that's a great way to put it. Finding the right balance for each situation.
You know, this whole conversation has really made me think about those personalized recommendations I see online.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to think twice before I click buy now from now on.
it's a good habit to get into. The more we understand about how these algorithms work and how they affect our choices, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely well said. This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
But we've only been talking about how individuals use algorithms. What about the bigger picture? What does this growing reliance on AI mean for society as a whole?
Now that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Because the decisions we make today about AI are going to have such a huge impact on the future.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's why these conversations are so important. We need to be thinking critically about the potential benefits and drawbacks.
It really feels like we're at a crossroads with AI, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's like two paths we could go down.
On one hand, there's this amazing future where AI is helping us make better choices, maybe even solving huge global problems.
A future where AI is like boosting our abilities, helping us to reach our full potential.
Exactly. But then there's this other path that's a little more, well, concerning.
Yeah, a path where we become way too dependent on AI, like we give up control and end up letting these algorithms shape our lives in ways we never even imagined.
You know, it's giving me like serious sci-fi movie vibes where the machines take over.
Hmm.
Maybe it's not so far-fetched after all.
I don't think we need to be worried about robots rising up just yet.
Okay, good.
But it is really important to think about the risks.
Like what? What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, one of the biggest ones is unintended consequences. We build these super complicated systems,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to predict exactly how they'll act in every single situation.
So even with the best intentions, things could still go wrong.
Absolutely. And the consequences could be huge, especially as AI gets more integrated into important stuff like healthcare,
Transportation.
finance. It's a lot to trust these systems with.
It really is. And that brings us to another important point, transparency.
Right.
A lot of these AI systems are total black boxes. We don't really get how they work or how they're making decisions.
Exactly. So how are we supposed to trust them if we don't know what's going on inside?
It's like we're just taking a blind leap of faith, which might be fine for recommending a movie,
Uh-huh.
but not so much for stuff that actually impacts people's lives in a serious way.
And then there's accountability too.
Right. If an AI messes up, who takes the blame?
That's a tough one. Is it the people who built it? The people who are using it? or the people who decided to trust its recommendations?
That's a question we need to figure out as a society.
Yeah, for sure.
This has given me a lot to think about. It seems like AI could do amazing things,
Yeah,
but there are some serious risks we have to consider too.
absolutely. It's not a simple situation at all, and there are no easy answers.
So where do we even go from here? What can we do as individuals to make sure AI is being used ethically and responsibly?
Well, I think the most important thing is staying informed, educating yourself about how AI works, its limitations, and its potential impact.
So basically, don't just blindly accept everything you hear about AI.
Right. Ask questions. Be critical of the information you see.
Challenge assumptions.
Exactly. And speak up. Share your thoughts. Talk about your concerns. Advocate for responsible AI development.
Make your voice heard. Support companies that are doing AI the right way.
Right, because in the end, the future of AI is in our hands. It's up to all of us to shape it and make sure it benefits everyone.
Well said. I think this has been a really eye-opening deep dive
It has.
and a good reminder that we all have a role to play in the future of AI.
We definitely do.
Thanks for joining us today, and be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world around us.